In today's YouTube video, we are getting into how to start a GoFundMe campaign. So GoFundMe is a form of crowdfunding, and it's a way that you can actually get donations for things like a cause, medical bills, memorial funds, travel costs, personal expenses. It could even be for volunteer work, or it could even be for your own business. So in today's video, I'm going through step-by-step fashion, really simply breaking this down. You can follow along as to how to start a GoFundMe campaign. All right, let's get started. So the first thing I want to point out is that GoFundMe is a marketplace, and you can see here some of the campaigns that are already raising money worldwide. Some of the ones that have just launched are close to their goal, charities, those that need momentum, and people here are regularly supporting and donating to GoFundMe campaigns. So why not yours? Why don't you launch your campaign into this marketplace? So this is really something that's really incredible to me, global, and I've been educating on this for many years. I got started in the crowdfunding industry back in 2012. If you're not familiar, my name is Salvador Briggman, and on this channel, I post videos just like this, high quality education information, and I also have a podcast out there where I interview successful crowdfunding campaigns. The first thing that we're going to want to do is to click Start a GoFundMe. So this is really where we're beginning to start this exciting fundraising journey. So the first thing you want to do is you want to specify where it is that you're located. I'm in the United States. I'm also in Miami, Florida. Shout out to you if you're in Florida. I actually grew up in Massachusetts and moved down to New York City, lived there for 6 years. And then when the pandemic happened, I moved down to Florida. What best describes why you're raising funding? So let's just say we have a business, and unfortunately, maybe there was a major accident that happened at that business and it burned down or something like that. I think this would be a great reason to launch a GoFundMe campaign, so you could select business. This is really going to determine the other campaigns that you are competing against when it comes to the GoFundMe algorithm. So you want to pick the one that most accurately describes your category, but also be mindful that this is going to determine the other campaigns that you are appearing alongside when it comes to your launch. So you're then going to click continue there. You're going to get into the next step here, which is where are you raising money? Are you raising money for yourself, for someone else, or for a charity? Now, if you're raising money for someone else, that's called a beneficiary, right? That person that's going to receive those funds. Statistically, I know statistics is kind of boring. Like, I wasn't the best student necessarily in school. I hated statistics, but I had to take it for my economics degree, right? But I will say that statistically, when you are raising money for someone else, it's going to be easier for you to raise money. Plus, you're going to be more likely to get donations from strangers. So as a kind of like a little secret here, if you are doing a GoFundMe campaign, if you can get your friend to raise money on your behalf, or even someone that just cares about your cause, you're going to actually raise more money and much more easily. So you could pick yourself, or if you're going to do a charity, you then would have to select that specific location, EIN, or name of that charity if you're raising money on behalf of that charity. It could also be your own charity, of course. So I'm just going to click yourself just so we can make this a little bit easier. And as we're going through this tutorial, I'm also going to share some advice and tips along the way. I think this is going to be useful for you. And just so that you know, I'm not just kind of talking here randomly. I also wrote the book, Crowdfunding Personal Expenses. This is how to get funding for education, travel costs, volunteering, emergency bills, and more. I have over 87 positive reviews for my book here. As you can see, the author, Salvador Briggman, and that is me. And I'm really proud about my work here, and hopefully it's helped a lot of people. So let's get back to this. We're going to start with the goal. I would say on average, most campaigns are raising $10,000 pretty easily when it comes to their goal. If it's going to be for a business, something that burned down, probably going to be more in the 100K, 50 to 100K kind of level. If you're doing something more, personal, like tuition bills, might be a little bit less than that. But we're just going to put for now $12,000 when it comes to this. And what I like about GoFundMe and the way it's been growing this specific year in the last couple of years is that they're incorporating a lot more technology and also AI into this. So you can see here, automatic goal setting will gradually adjust your goal as donations come in to help build momentum. So what's kind of cool about this is that the more that you raise, they're going to actually automatically adjust your goal. How freaking cool is that, man? Like, if you get to the small amount that you want to, like 3,500, right? Then they're going to use data to then be able to upgrade your goal so you can actually raise even more money. This is so cool, and this is what's called automating your goal, and it's something that's new when it comes to GoFundMe technology. I will tell you though, I've been in the industry since 2012 for a long time. This actually already happens on other platforms, but now GoFundMe is actually starting to adjust this. There are ways of doing this, for example, on Kickstarter and Indiegogo with rewards, but this is definitely something that's kind of cool and new. After this point, this is when you would then log into your GoFundMe accounts. All right, man. So I just went through the two-factor authentication and also linked it to my Gmail. Two-factor authentication is so annoying, and it's also a fact of life nowadays with all these tech companies. You can also use voice over IP if you don't want to give away your phone number. But that being said, we're on the next step here, which is really adding your cover photo or video. And one of the questions I get all the time is like, Sal, should I be doing a photo, a video? What should I do? The video is going to pack a punch. It's really going to have an emotional impact if you can put a video on your page. But the thing here, the caveat is you don't want to have a long video because otherwise no one's going to watch it, right? So you want to have a video that's ideally less than 5 minutes. I would say the sweet spot is less than 3 minutes when it comes to that pitch video. The video should go over the story, the need, what happened, why it is that you're raising funds, the impact that people are going to make, and how they can really step into become that hero of the story which is unfolding. If you're not going to do a video, which is certainly okay, I've had many students that have raised 5 and 6 figures when it comes to GoFundMe without a video, so you don't need one necessarily, but you would then upload your photo here and something that's going to be easy and going to capture people's attention. Once you do that, you can then start to tell your story, and you can also embed some photos and videos within your story as well to make this sucker pop and really stand off the page. The big ones are, and I cover this in some of my training, my free training that I have out there, which I'll talk about later. You want to first really get into a sense of the story. So I would recommend, and I'm not going to write all of this here right now, but I would really recommend talking about what it is that happened. So what happened when it comes to this specific event in your life? More importantly, trying to tell a story that creates empathy when it comes to the reader. So I've done other YouTube videos out there, and you can watch this on my channel. If you do enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up, come subscribe. But the two main reasons why people give are that number one, there's a sense of empathy when it comes to the person that they're helping out. Number two, they feel a sense of distress. So if you can ratchet up the distress a little bit and really talk about the costs, or for example, this business burned down, this is thousands of dollars worth of equipment. The other thing would be how you add value. So maybe this business is tied to the local community, right? So the local community, we were able to, increase reading and literacy rates locally, or we're able to every once in a while do a book fair and do used book sales so students could get more books, or we would always hold every single week, some kind of event. How did you add value to the local community? And talk about now that's no longer going to be the case because you need to get this business back up and running if it's a bookstore. The next one would be the impacts. So how can people become the hero of your story? For example, if you step up and you're able to donate $25, this is going to allow us to do this and this. And if we can raise this amount, we'll be able to, get this together, right? So you can really flesh out how can people make an impact and why is that going to be a tangible impact. And I think most importantly would be your vision, just being transparent and what you're going to be doing with those funds. So this goes beyond the scope of this video, but we're just going to kind of write out a couple of things here. So all I did was just begin the starting of a story here. I literally just wrote this in a couple seconds here. So if you wanted to just enhance this, you click this enhance button. And this is what's really cool is this new AI feature. So when it comes to the enhanced, you could do this when it comes to speller, grammar, tone, word choice, paragraph, structure. As you can see there, it's beginning to do that. Or if you wanted to, you could just do spell check only and you could decide to enhance that story. So we're going to say use this story. So what I would actually recommend is number one, you want to create a Word document and to make sure that you begin to flesh that out. And then from that Word document, you can always copy and paste it more easily into the GoFundMe campaign page and use their enhancement features if you want to. I don't think it's yet there where it's like, I'd recommend it as like an A+ level. I still think there's a long way to go when it comes to this AI technology. And if you want to learn more about how to really upgrade your story from more of a specific framework, I have this great course out there, a free course on GoFundMe, which you can check out at crowdcrux.com/GoFundMe course. I'll include that link in the description at crowdcrux.com/GoFundMe course. And I've also started to add more lessons and modules into my premium course, the GoFundMe Cash Machine, which talks about how to use the power of AI technology to be able to really enhance the marketing, the funding, and also the storytelling behind your actual campaign. So if you come here, you would click continue. And I'll tell you more about that later on. When we click continue, you then have your story here, and that's beginning to populate. As you can see, it's starting to suggest a couple of titles. It's looking at other fundraisers. And this is the coolest part about all this new tech stuff that's been happening in the last couple of years. So if we wanted to, we could work off of one of these suggestions when it comes to the actual GoFundMe campaign page. So I wouldn't recommend being lazy here. Instead, what I do is I would cup out what I call a couple of KPI campaigns. These are basically other GoFundMe campaigns that you're looking to emulate. Maybe they're in your category or they're very similar. Break out, if you can, like an Excel spreadsheet and just look at a couple of their headlines. And you want to use that first because, like I said, I don't think this is yet at an A+ level when it comes to their AI technology. So you first want to work off of the proven examples for success. So make sure you do that. We're just going to have this here. So one of the things that I don't like about these titles is that it doesn't mention anything about, a bookstore. It doesn't mention anything about, the element there or the amount of damages, right? So there's a lot of easy ways that we can improve this. For now, I'm just going to make this video easy. We're going to select this one here, there, and so we can start to move along. The other thing I would say is if you have like a local business, let's just say it is a bookstore, it would be great to include the name of that bookstore in the title, but it doesn't recommend necessarily having that. So we have now cover media, which we did not add, but you can add optionally. You have your fundraising goal with an automated solution, which is that it's going to decide the amount that you've raised, and it's going to start off with 3,500. It's going to move more so towards 12,000 as you get more and more funding in the door. You have your business category, right? You have location, and you have your story. So this is really simple. We're going to click preview, and this is already starting to come together here. You can see here how this is going to look. People are going to be able to share or donate now, and towards the right, you're going to see all these donations that are coming in. You also have your story here, the organizer, and you'll start to have words of support as people come in with this specific campaign. So we're going to move along here, and man, if you feel like you're learning something, if you feel like you're getting some knowledge, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a positive comment right here on this video to make sure that we get this out there and to make sure that more people see this content.
Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description.
Once you click launch fundraiser, you're going to see this screen, which is where you can share your fundraiser, or if you want to, you can go directly to it. I do recommend, if you can, sharing with a couple of your friends and family members, but there's actually a strategy behind this that I'm going to go through a little bit more towards the end of this video. Like I said, I want to go through some advice and tips, towards the end. So from a technical standpoint, we already set up the fundraiser. So really what you just need is you need a photo or video, you need the story, you need the amount that you're going to be raising for, and also I think a title, and thinking a little bit carefully about that. That being said, like while it takes a couple of minutes to set up these fundraisers, more often than not, a lot of my students are studying a couple of weeks before they actually go live with their campaign because they want to be able to give it the best chance possible and really understand the principles behind crowdfunding and some of the basics that go into that. So now that we've gone live, we have our dashboard here. So first of all, you can see your goal. You can copy your unique link. You can also add people to a team. This is going to, again, statistically improve the chances of you raising more and more money. So if you wanted to, you can invite a couple of people to join your team and to raise money on your behalf. And what this does is it adds this element that we call, as marketers, social proof, which is credibility. The fact that other people are stepping up, and also their friends are way more likely to donate to your campaign when they see that one of their mutual friends is a team member on your campaign. So I definitely would recommend, if you can, adding some team members. In addition, and I think this is a great tip, encouraging some close people to donate to this campaign. This is a great tip here when it comes to GoFundMe. You want to can go through a couple of these checklists, which I will review a little bit later, but I want to get more, first focus on some of the functionality. So as we get here in the dashboard, we'll start to see the donations coming in this specific section. We can then also begin to set up transfers. So your bank account or a business bank account, if you have a beneficiary, you could also use, this functionality in the dashboard to be able to set up the beneficiary there. So that's really where your transfers are happening. Updates are a very important part of GoFundMe. And the reason why is that many times these strangers are given money, man, and they don't know how the campaign is happening or going behind the scenes. So you got to continue to update them. And if you do, it doesn't have to be like every single day, right? It could be on a cadence basis, whether that's 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, or every week, or if it's in the later stages, every month. It will really create a lot of goodwill, we call it, and a lot of transparency, and a lot of like feeling like this team is actually taking action. And what it does is that those people that are already your donors then are more likely to share your campaign with their network, and it has this kind of cool network effect. So you can come here if you want to, and you can craft an update. You can write a message about your progress. If you wanted to, you could also include some photos and videos to make it more real. It just kind of has that emotional impact. It's more likely then that people are going to go and check it out. And if there's things that you want to add in, like you got into the news, and that's a huge element of GoFundMe that no one talks about is news stories, local news stories, nationwide news stories, worldwide news stories, getting on social bookmarking sites like Reddit. These are all ways that you can get more donations. So this would be a great example if you did end up getting one of those. Other things would be you can download their app, which will make it easy, to share links that way. But what I would say from a functionality standpoint is that this is pretty easy, man. This is pretty bare bones. And I think that, if we talk about this, you're going to come here, you're going to be able to see what this actually looks like and really set this up in a couple of minutes. Now, not everyone's going to be able to donate to your campaign. So if they can, encourage them. Remember, marketing is all about repetition. So ask them to share your campaign if they haven't yet donated, or if they can't donate, please at least share the campaign. Some people might be on the fence as well, right? You could include, for example, in an email outreach you do, which is one of the components of, GoFundMe Cash Machine. We talk about this idea of email marketing and how you can get people to take action when they're part of your email list. And one of those elements is by identifying what's holding people back. And one of the things that always holds people back is like, is this legitimate or not? So if you wanted to, in one of those emails, you could stress the GoFundMe Protection Program, which is the GoFundMe Giving Guarantee, where donors guaranteed a full refund for up to a year in the rare case that any kind of fraud happens. So really cool in the way that GoFundMe is doing that. All right, so let's get into some action items when it comes to the marketing and the tactics that go into raising funds. Again, I urge you to go and check out my free GoFundMe course at crowdcrux.com/GoFundMe course if you want to learn more, or if you really want to have, the step-by-step information in terms of my book. If you want to go, go and check that out on Amazon. I also have a version on Audible if you like listening to me talk. You want to on the way to work, or you're traveling in the car, or you're commuting, or you're, even washing the dishes. This is a great way to make use of that time. And lastly, I do have my premium program, the GoFundMe Cash Machine, which is really if you're trying to go big, if this is important to you, want to make sure you do it right, and you kind of want like a done for you system, something that's easy to just copy and paste, the worksheets, the templates, all that kind of stuff, the scripts, and make it easy for you with a launch. I will include a link to the GoFundMe Cash Machine as well, which is to me the best investment which you can make when it comes to launching a GoFundMe campaign. So let's go through a couple of these checklist items. So one would be detailing how funds are used, photos, videos, have someone proofread, host a fundraising event. I think the fundraising event one is a great option where you can invite other people at a specific time, at a specific date, to actually come and to participate when it comes to an event. So they have partnered with this other tool here. You can see here, Partyful, to be able to host, if you wanted to, a fundraising event. There are also other tools that you can use to set up a fundraising event, but I do like the way that GoFundMe is actually starting to get involved with other partnerships. A couple of tips here that they recommend when it comes to launching a GoFundMe would be descriptive fundraiser titles, being detailed, choosing high quality photos, using suggested goals, right? I think this is all good, like high level information, but what I would say is that they are missing out on a couple of really key elements. So the first one is going to be that if you are involving other people in the launch, let's just say, for example, teammates, right? What you want to do is you want to put together like a simple media file or folder. You can call it, a press kit if you wanted to, but just something really easy. People can go there. They can copy and paste what they should be saying on social media. They can copy and paste some photos when it comes to your actual campaign page. Another good one would be thinking about the story angle. So what is the story if you were to reach out to, let's just say, a publication, right? So like maybe Mercury News. They want to, cover different local things, and you're kind of wondering, how can I get this horrible event and turn this into something big? Well, why don't you pitch a local news organization and tell them what happened? And look at this, they covered this, and this campaign was able to raise over $250,000 when it comes to doing a crowdfunding campaign for a local business that had burned down by a devastating fire, right? So there's sort of tactics that go into this, and I think that having a media kit is one, but the next one would be, like I said, crafting a story. Who's going to care? What are the angles to that story? Who can you reach out to about that story? And journalists, they love a story that has legs because it's going to drive tons of traffic to their website, and that's how they make money, is they make money from advertising, right? So you want to be mindful of what the journalist wants to cover. So let's go back here, and I'll provide a couple of more tips here before we close out today's video. So we come here, you can see some items, right, when it comes to boosting your fundraiser. Let's go back here. They recommend sharing early and often, sharing with friends and family, sharing on social media, sharing offline. What I would say with this is that actually nowadays, unfortunately, the networks are working against you. The algorithms are working against you because there's only a small number of people that are seeing anyways a post that you do on Facebook. So actually what you want to do, if possible, would be to gather people's name and email them, because you're going to see a much higher open rate with emails than you are going to with a social media post on your timeline. In addition, rather than just doing a social media post, you should directly message those people on those social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. Most importantly, you want to be doing stories as well, because stories have a much bigger reach than just doing simple posts on social media. In addition, you could do other mediums as well, for example, like Telegram or WhatsApp. You'll be surprised the number of people that you'll find just part of your contacts that are on all of these other platforms as well. All right, man. And the last one I'm going to give here as a tip before we close out today's video is around the team. And I think that team building is a great tool and something awesome when it comes to, doing a GoFundMe campaign. But what you should not underestimate is coordinated social media posting. And by that, I mean, for example, everyone posting the same reel at the same time with different hashtags and maybe even tagging different accounts. I'm sure you've seen other influencers, and I'm not going to mention their names, but other influencers who have multiple people that are posting content about them. It almost has this like omnipresence effect. So how cool would it be, for example, if you had a couple of your teammates not only posting on the social media, but also doing like a reel, for example, about what it is that's happening, providing that social proof. Because again, when someone else is raising money for you, those strangers are far more likely to actually donate to that campaign. So to give you a more tangible example, let's just say you did have that bookstore, it did burn down. If you even had one or two community members who just were saying like, oh my gosh, I loved going to this bookstore because I'd always take my kids there, and it was such a peaceful place to be, and listen to some of the authors, and I saw that this burned down, this is so horrible. If anyone is willing to really step up and to help with this, I'm going to include a link in my profile to the GoFundMe campaign, because I'm giving to this because I really do think these guys have been doing such a great job and they really deserve it, right? You could just have a couple of people singing your praises and do that and post on social media, and you're going to get a ton of funding as a result of that. I'm going to close off today's video, but thank you so much for watching. My name again is Salvador Briggman. Come to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Also go and check out my free GoFundMe course at the link in the description. Enter your name and email and you will start getting some lessons from me. But if nothing else, if this is a challenging time in your life, keep your head up, keep out there, keep taking action, and keep learning, because you can transform maybe this negative event into something really positive, and also use this opportunity of crowdfunding and GoFundMe to learn a whole new set of skills that can propel your life forward. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.